I'm Colin from COCK SPARRER. I'm with Daryl.
Oi, oi, this is COCK SPARRER. Listen to Dying Scene, you cunts.
Behave yourselves. Have fun. Cheers now.
Dying Scene Radio. Dying Scene, Dying Scene, Dying Scene. Dying Scene, Dying Scene Radio. Dying Scene Radio. Dying Scene Radio.
He's fucking texting while he's talking to us.
Hey, listen, I know I'm going to have to resort to my notes here, okay? I apologize. You know, it's DIY stuff, man. This is punk rock, right?
Yeah, it's punk rock.
So it's suitable, right?
Means you can do no research beforehand.
I did do research.
Google us.
You know what? I was thinking actually about doing no research. Yeah. I was in the name of punk rock.
Well,
do no research.
We know fuck all about ourselves anyway. So.
All right, so, hey, this is Bobby Pickles with DyingScene.com and Dying Scene Radio, respectively. I'm in Greenpoint, Brooklyn today, in the Polish section of the neighborhood, and I'm interviewing Colin McFowl, sorry.
Fool as in idiot. It's quite easy to...
And Daryl Smith.
Yeah.
That's easy to remember that one, isn't it?
Yes, it
is. And is Pickles your real name?
Picarillo.
Picarillo. I see what they did there.
Robert Picarillo.
Yeah, I see what they did there. Your guys at school, crazy.
Of the iconic English punk band COCK SPARRER.
SPERRA.
How's it pronounced?
Well, here's the thing. A lot of Americans think it's COCK SPARRER, as in sparring.
Yes, that's how I think.
But no, nothing to do with that. It's COCK SPARRER, and it's an old East London term of endearment meaning friend or mate. Hello, me old COCK SPARRER. Hello, my old friend. Something like that. So it's something that has not translated well anywhere, not even in the rest of England.
Is there any way to translate it at all to American from the Queen's? Friend, Queen's English,
mate.
Just mate. That's a
hello, me old mate. Hello, my old friend. Hello, me old COCK SPARRER.
Sparrow is the way that East London people say sparrow, right? Which is like the small bird.
Right, that was the original name of the band.
Correct, absolutely.
How long was that the name of the band? Before it was changed?
For about 5 years.
5 years.
For about 5 years. The band was formed in 72, and we changed it in about 77.
And that's from Cockney, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Can you help us out, for all us dumb Americans who don't know exactly what Cockney is? And, maybe that's like a dialect of English, right? Just like a kind of, what?
It's for common people that haven't been brought up very well, and they don't speak well. I'll have to refer you to the genuine East Ender.
It's a dialect thing, as you say. It's like every city has its own slang, has its own words for different things, and that's the one for East London, pretty much.
I was going to ask you if you could maybe help me out, help me come out with like a term of endearment. I know this guy. This guy's pretty familiar with me. Our production assistant there, Tony, and maybe you could help me out and figure out something that I could use with him, some kind of maybe saying or something like that, or word in Cockney. Something though that insulting. That's really what it doesn't have to be friend or mate or something. Something insulting.
I wouldn't insult him.
Come on, please.
He's a very nice boy.
Listen, for the good of media.
He's a diamond geezer, right? He's a proper diamond geezer.
You proper diamond geezer. We're here after your sound check at the second show of your two-show concert series in New York City, right? And it's been 15 years since you played in New York City. Now, evidently, Wikipedia is incorrect when they state that in 2012, COCK SPARRER. How do COCK SPARRER? Is it still pronounced COCK SPARRER?
SPERRA.
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 That's it.
Yeah, that's all I tried to do.
We'll make a Cockney hooligan out of you yet.
It's a fucking 30-minute interview with 25 minutes talking about how to pronounce the name of the band.
I apologize. But anyway, Wikipedia says in 2012, COCK SPARRER
Good boy.
marked their 40th anniversary along with Rancid, who celebrated their 20th, and they played 2 sold-out concerts in New York.
Wrong.
Obviously, that's wrong.
Yeah,
God, Wikipedia
that was in
sucks.
San Francisco.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We can change that.
How was last night's show? Was it a success?
It was brilliant. It was fantastic. Great crowd. Really up for it right from the start. I mean, this place is just such a good venue. Good crew, really friendly people. Couldn't do enough to help us. The atmosphere and the vibe in the whole place last night was fantastic. And everybody wanted to party right from the start. The 2 bands that made up the bill with us were also great. Fantastic. Got the crowd going. really nice guys as well. Just perfect. Couldn't fault it at all.
And they were loud, and that really, sometimes you can be going down well, but there's silence because of the acoustics of the place or whatever. But I think this was a perfect storm. They were really up for it. They were really loud, and the hall made it sound great. And it's still, no matter how long we do it, you still get moments where the hairs on the back of your neck stand up when you have people singing everything back word for word, and they were a great crowd last night.
Absolutely. And the venue that we're talking about is called the Warsaw, and this is a pretty big venue here in Brooklyn and New York City. I've been here before. I saw Social Distortion. I was telling Colin that the acoustics weren't that great though last time when I saw Social D, and I couldn't really make out the words at all. So, but it was good. It was a lot better. I was listening to you guys at Soundcheck, and everything is great.
Let us know tonight once you've seen the show.
I will.
What it's like.
And then you said you played with Murphy's Law. Was it the first time that you've played with Murphy's Law?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And how did you like that?
Yeah, they're a great band.
They're crazy, right?
Yeah, great band, great
Good
guys.
people,
Yeah.
great sense of humour, good people.
Yeah.
And that's what we're all about, It's about surrounding ourselves with... We're not doing this because we have to do it. We do it because we want to do it, and we still enjoy doing it. We're not signed to a label or an agent or a management that makes things do it on their terms. We can do it on our terms, which means we can choose the bands we want to play with. And where we can, we try to handpick the bill and play with the people that are
Absolutely.
that we can have a good time with. And they were both two great bands last night.
So you guys don't really go on tour anymore?
This is a tour for us. 2 dates.
Two dates, yeah. It's these sold-out shows, these random sold-out shows throughout the year, right? Yeah. Here and there, hit and miss,
Here's the thing.
Yes.
If we went on a 7-date tour, in all honesty, come day 7, the show wouldn't be as good as day 1. And those people that have bought the tickets for that night deserve the same show. Well, of course you can cash in and keep touring and taking the money, but don't cheat the people out of that. Our voices
it's called phoning it in.
Yeah, my voice would be fucked after 3 shows. You know what I mean? So you're not putting on 100% come that time. We'd much rather come in, give it our best, and then go out and come back again.
And we've also said that we will continue to do this for as long as people want to come and see us. Mm-hmm. And there's a real danger that you can become too over familiar by playing too often in the same places. If your only incentive is the paycheck at the end of the day, and that's not what we want to do. We want to try and make it a special event. We want to try and make it a party every time so that people can just come down, have a good time, have something to look forward to, and then talk about it afterwards.
It's a super special event. Another punk band, Out of Order, out of Montreal. They're coming down here. I'm meeting up with them.
Sweet.
I've interviewed them before. Uh-huh. So many people are converging upon Brooklyn to check this out, And yeah, if you watered it down and you're touring all over the place all the time, right? It wouldn't be that same kind of thing. Even though you guys are so legendary and have influenced many, there's still newbies out there. The young generation of punk rockers who may be just learning about COCK SPARRER and your roles in the creation of the punk rock genre. So some of my questions, as you've noticed, do reflect some of that, and they're meant to introduce you guys and to inform them. So that's just a disclaimer. I should have actually said that before we talked about the band name and everything. Yeah, most of our readers are dumb Americans, just like myself. So, but just to bring us dumb Americans up to speed, the band was formed in 1972 in East London, like you guys are talking about, at a time when there was really no punk, and your biggest influences were bands like The Who, for Christ's sakes.
Well, yeah, I mean...
Well, according to Wikipedia, of course, which is wrong, which we just talked about.
The font of all knowledge, of course, isn't it?
Oh, it was?
I think the thing is, you're influenced by what's around at the time. And I was 16 in 1972. So you listen to what songs you hear in the charts and what records you buy or see on chart shows on the TV and things like that. And a lot of that influence of all those bands rub off on you a little bit. I mean, were The Who an influence? I'd say probably not, to be honest. But I mean, bands like Slade certainly were. Small Faces certainly were. That's where our influences came from. But individually, we had older brothers and sisters who came home with Tamla and Stax records and things like that and played those till they wore out. And you couldn't help but be influenced by listening to Aretha Franklin and people like that.
How many brothers and sisters do you have? It was National Sibling Day yesterday.
I've got 2 older brothers and an older sister. So they would buy records when they were released. They'd come home, they'd leave the arm off the record player, so it'd just play over and over on repeat. And, by the end of the night, you'd know all the words. Mm-hmm. So they were your influences. They were the people that impacted upon what you liked and what you listened to. And at some stage, that shapes the type of music that you end up playing. You can't help that.
A lot of people would argue that you guys are the godfathers of Oi.
It's been said. Yeah.
Absolutely. which is a crazy subgenre of punk rock. First of all, well, what was the scene like back in 1972, or lack thereof? There was like none, right? I mean, just like you were talking about,
there wasn't a scene,
right?
There wasn't a scene at all.
Did you guys ever play with the Sex Pistols or the Clash or anything like that? Being from East London?
Never played in the same bill as those. I guess the nearest we came to playing with punk hierarchy was probably with a Jam. But again, it was a one-off situation. We never really mixed in those sort of circles, to be honest, back in those days. Most of those guys came from outside of London or from the other side of London, and we never really mixed.
See, the thing is, when the punk thing started, it came from the West End of London, and
did it?
Yeah, and it was very much an art school thing. It was a little bit like in New York. And these guys came from the wrong side of London, the East End, and it was it's a little bit more street based. And probably the other punks would look down on the sort of stuff we were doing. It's a bit too real. And a bit too raw.
Well, that's what Oi is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but Oi hadn't started.
Punk rock, but it's stripped down to its bare.
Oi came out of that.
Right.
Oi was a direct reflection on the fact that we didn't fit in with their scene. We refused to wear their bondage trousers. We wouldn't buy T-shirts from a particular shop or wear a particular thing or do our hair in a particular style because that's what you needed to be a punk. Bollocks. We like the thinking behind it, and we like the ethos behind it. Anybody can get up and do anything at any time. No one can tell you that you're shit. Yeah, I like that. But just whatever I wear, whatever clothes I want to wear.
Well, which brings us to that story. Was it McLaren or whatever?
Yeah.
It's the guy, the producer, who was coming out to. The story is he was coming out to see you guys. There's a couple things on the internet. Something about him not wanting to buy you guys a round of beers or something, and then another one was about cutting your hair, right?
I mean, McLaren at the time, it's a perfectly true story. He was putting the Pistols together. He was looking at what other bands he could, I guess, form, and it was like a boy band situation. He'd pluck people out that he thought would make a good band. Which is what, to be fair, the Sex Pistols and the Clash were. They were formed not because they were bunches of mates. They were put together for a specific reason, and that was for Malcolm McLaren and Bernie Rhodes to further their own careers almost.
Clash, that surprises me.
It's true. I mean, if you, I love the Clash. The Clash is my favorite band of all time. All right?
It's his deal.
Yeah, but if you read the biogs, and they spent a long time looking around at who they could recruit, before they came up with the final lineup.
It wasn't an organic thing. I mean, the difference with COCK SPARRER, apart from myself being the new boy,
you pronounced it properly.
Yeah, I can say it. These guys went to school with each other, so it's a friendship, and out of friendship, when you're hanging out with these people, there's a natural chemistry. It's very organic. You're getting together. You're playing after school. You're jamming. You're learning things. It's very different from having a manager that's saying, and right the way through the Clash's career, right up to the point where they fell apart, their manager Bernie Rhodes was dictating and was in Joe's ear and saying, "You got to get rid of Mick
Jones." Yeah.
And to his dying day, that was Joe's biggest regret, was that they fired Mick Jones, because after that last album, Cut the Crap, is no Clash album, and no.
God, you should have a fucking, next time you're getting a microphone.
We're having a Clash loving over here. Yeah. So when McLaren came down, he said, you'd have to do this, you'd have to do that. And we said, well, that's never going to work. That's never going to work. There's the door.
Who said that?
We all did. We just looked at him and said, well, it's not going to happen. Forget it. And what he
Do you ever regret it?
Never. What he might have been looking at doing was perhaps, plucking a couple of people from our band to fit in with another band or something. Perhaps that was his ulterior motive. We don't know. He never got that far. To his credit, he came from the west side of London over to a small crappy pub in East London. We were rehearsing upstairs, and he came in his fucking bondage trousers and his 600-pound leather jacket and sat down and listened to us go through a few of our very bad songs at the time. Saw something in it, I guess, but it just wasn't going to go any further. And we don't regret it at all. Having seen what happened to the Pistols and members of, and we're happy with what we've got. I mean, what we have to say is where we are now, we're perfectly grateful for the decisions we've made along the way, because we wouldn't be here now having this conversation had we made some of those other choices earlier on in our lives. It's worked out brilliantly.
Yeah, because we do things on our terms, and that you can't get much more DIY than that. Whereas a lot of those other punk bands, they were signed to majors. They had other people pulling their strings. COCK SPARRER always came at the wrong time. So in the whole 77 punk thing, you could be any punk band in the UK and you were having independent chart hits, you know. They were on the chart shows selling 100,000 records. COCK SPARRER never quite hit the right time. And then it was too early for Oi because it was more real, but the Oi thing hadn't started. So that's why a lot of people refer to it as, you know, the founders of Oi. But we weren't there at the Oi scene. The Oi scene then came after the band had stopped again. So it was almost like we've always missed those places where you can pigeonhole us, which has been great because then the years that we weren't playing, this sort of cult status had built up. And people almost felt that they discovered it was their own dirty little secret. You know what I mean? Everyone likes the Clash and the Pistols and you know, even other Oi bands like, you know, the Cockney Rejects, they sold thousands of records. But COCK SPARRER was this sort of almost mythical status. No one had ever saw them in the early days because the gigs weren't big enough. I was a fan of the band before I was in the band, but there were never any pictures. I never met anyone that had been to a COCK SPARRER show. You know, so whilst we weren't playing, that's when the sort of mythical, legendary status built up because it hadn't been overexposed.
And that wasn't manufactured. That was just us doing things on our terms. That was just us doing it when we could be asked, you know, when we could bother to do it.
In other words, you guys will never play Shea Stadium.
Yeah, well, and who cares? You know,
Exactly.
There you go. You know,
That's what music is about.
I love the attitude.
Music for music.
yeah.
Daryl, you were just talking about how you guys are so connected and everybody was friends, and that's how COCK SPARRER started. Some bands are all about business, right? And group members become more of associates rather than friends. And you guys are genuine mates. I read somewhere that your kids even play together in their own band.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Do they still play together?
They did.
Are they done?
No, my son Tom and Steve Burgess' son Jack were in a band together for a while. That's now fallen apart. They still do their own thing separately. The families are all very close still. You know, all the kids meet up and go out together. We make a point of spending.
Everybody's like cousins, huh?
We make a point every year spending New Year with everybody else. All the families all get together. We sit
what
down
a hell
and
of a New Year party, huh?
Yeah. And it's what friends do. You know, it's what friends do. No one has any points to prove. You know.
Family, not a business.
Yeah,
That's
no,
exactly it. And that's why there's no pressure on us and why we can enjoy what we're doing because COCK SPARRER exists even when there's no gigs. Because, you know, next month, next week, whatever, we can all be around each other's houses, having a meal, and we're together as a family. So it doesn't matter that there's no show, there's no gig to play. That's the motivation is friendship first.
Hence all these little things where you see it's from 72 to this date, and then there's like a lapse, and then it's from this to this. It's all BS, right? It was ever going. It was just you guys weren't playing, right?
The band has never split up. The band it's a going concern from day one. It's just when we choose to play, you know?
Absolutely. Tell me about the last time you guys played in New York City, because this is the first time in 15 years. Where did you play, and what was the occasion back then?
CBGB's.
Nice.
It was our first visit to the States.
Really?
Yeah. On a couple of occasions before that, people had tried to get the band over here, and for whatever reason, the deals never came together. We were asked then. Someone came together and said, "Let's do 4 shows." We said, "Okay, 1 in New York, 1 in Boston, 1 in LA, and 1 in San Francisco, on 4 consecutive days." They offered us a gig in New York, and we said, "Can we play CBGB's, please?" And they said, "Oh, we got you down for this other place, a bigger place." We said, No.
Oh my God!
Can we please?
A bigger place? You're like, no. I want to play CBGB.
That was a box for us to tick, you know. That was something we wanted to do. That was important to us. And again, you know, as we said earlier, it was on our terms, you know, the way that we wanted to do it, which was not bullying or anything. It was like a request. You know, we'd really love to play CBGB's, please, if we could. And we did.
On a Thursday night. So we could have come to New York, taken the bigger venue, played a Saturday, cashed in, but it's like, no. You play in New York, you got to play CBGB's. It was something that it's got to resonate. It's got to come from here, you know. So Thursday night, we play a small place. I mean, if you took that venue and put it anywhere else in the world, there's no redeeming features about it. It was a shithole. It was terrible sound, terrible stage, terrible dressing rooms, terrible toilets, but it's fucking CBGB's, and that's all we wanted to do. We still get excited about things like that, you know? That's still something that resonates with us and ticks a box, you know?
Yeah, all we have now is the Bowery Electric. That place sucks. I was actually tossed out of it.
A funny story about that night, about the CBGB's night, was they put a sign on the door, said absolutely no skinheads. Right, so you've never seen so many skinheads in such a collection of different hats, right? Yeah. They all had different hats on, right? They came and said, no skinheads here.
Let me ask you about that. A lot of people attribute I mean, well, I've been guilty of it. I grew up in Florida, where there's, it's the South, a lot of skinheads and things like that, and I always, mistakenly, I guess, attributed oi to skinhead things and racist things and stuff. What do you think about that? Like that whole.
Well, if you look at the history of the oi thing, where it started, if you buy the first half a dozen oi albums and look at the bands that are on there, they're not skinhead bands. You've got bands like The Exploited, Peter and the Test Tube Babies, COCK SPARRER, the Toy Dolls. Do you know what I mean? It was just not trendy punk. It was just real from the streets, singing about, as much as we love The Clash, singing about some rebel thing in some faraway, South American country. I can't resonate with that. I go to football on a Saturday or go down the pub with my friends. That's what these bands were singing about. So it wasn't a skinhead thing exclusively. A lot of skinheads were attracted to that because they liked the punk music but couldn't quite get on with the image. So it attracted a lot of hooligans, football hooligans, boot boy skinheads. In England, you had very much a split. Yes, you had the right-wing skinheads, and they'll always latch onto things, but then you had the skinheads that grew up with Trojan and Jamaican reggae, and you had the explosion of all the two-tone bands like the Specials and reggae. So it wasn't an exclusive. Skinhead wasn't a dirty word then. I think worldwide, the skinhead thing got attributed to one political thing, and things started getting tarred with the wrong brush, which is why in the early 90s, when a lot of English bands started coming over, bands like The Business and whatever, it got rebranded as street punk because oi had become a dirty word, and we were claiming it back from that side of things,
I was always wondering about that, actually. I didn't realize that, how the street punk thing came in. Wow, it's kind of like a marketing thing.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Wow. So, just like you were talking about just now, Daryl, it's no secret you guys love pubs. What's your drink of choice? Beer? Or
for me, only beer.
Beer, and
beer.
Colin?
Anything that's going.
Yeah.
Anything that's going?
Anything that's on the table.
Well, if it was beer, what would be your preferred brand? And are you actually horrified that I'll admit right now, I genuinely love the taste of the beautiful nectar called Bud Light.
Okay, that's
interview over.
I suppose if I had a choice,
that's for you, Coletti.
If I had a choice, it would probably be Guinness, I guess.
Guinness?
Yeah, but I like.
So you like your stouts?
I do, but I like coming here and trying New York beers. I like going to California and trying the California beers. I like going to the Czech Republic and probably drinking the best beer in the world, apart from Belgium, comes from the Czech Republic. Yeah.
You like Polish beer? Like I said, we're in the Polish section. We're in Warsaw.
Wherever we go, we'll try.
You had your kielbasa sandwich last night?
I did. Yeah.
Got the Polish special. They're all down there. They're that's so.
And the dumplings, yeah.
So what is it, like $5 or $10? You get like a kielbasa sandwich and a beer. I love it.
Yeah.
It's
Newcastle brown ale for me.
Newcastle brown ale.
Yeah,
that's a good taste.
Or a Czech lager.
If you had to do it over again, would you change your name to something easier for us dumb Americans to pronounce?
Good question. No.
I tell you what it does. Every time we come through immigration, it gives the guys there a laugh whenever we come in, doesn't it?
Yeah.